Greetings, Universus Players, and welcome back to another video. My name is Willie T, and this time I'm going to be bringing you another deck profile, this time focusing on Katsuki Bakugou IV, on the death symbol. This is a pretty strong character, I'm not going to lie, but today I'm bringing a little bit more of an experimental deck. This isn't something I've gotten a lot of playtime with, so I want to profile it for you guys so you guys can see where my thoughts are and how it develops. Lately I'm making purposely 50 card decks so that I know whether I want to expand them or keep them where they are and see how things kind of go. So with that said, let's kind of just get straight into it with the character himself and then move on from there. Well, let's go ahead and start with the man himself, Katsuki Bakugou IV. Bakugo is a 6 hand size, 30 health character. He has an enhance and a response. His enhance is a once per turn, discard 1 card from your card pool. If it's your turn, your rival discards a card. Big ability there. Being able to remove cards from your rival's hand, get that out of the way and make sure that your onslaught goes through is crazy. And his response is after your fury attack receives a damage penalty, it gets +3 damage. This is really important because it basically nullifies any amount of damage reduction that our rival is able to put out and make sure that that is meaningless in the face of what we're bringing to the table. Bakugo is on the air, death, and void symbols, and today we're going to focus on the death symbol. So with that in mind, we're going to focus on the fury attack pool, which is pretty much standard for our friend Bakugo. He's a very angry guy, and we bring a lot of that to the table in this attack lineup, which let's go ahead and get straight into. First off, we have 3 copies of Stun Grenade. This card is a game winner for most decks that play it. It's able to get you more attacks for you to use, and we already have the ability to remove cards from our card pool on our face. So we want to be able to pump up that stun rating and make sure that we're getting everything that we can. We are playing some other cards that facilitate this even further in this 50 card deck. So we're able to really dig deep, get what we need, and make sure that our rival is not going to like what we're bringing to the table. So to follow that up, we're going to break out 3 copies of Vile Seizing. Vile Seizing is another one of those cards that is great value. We're able to utilize the breaker on this. It is a fury, but more than anything, it draws us an extra card and it forces our rival into a position where they might have to give up resources or just give us more cards to work with, and that's not a position that they generally want to be in. It also manages to get a damage bonus on its own, so it does have its own threatening abilities itself, and its deadlock is nothing to be messed with. This deadlock is a game winner on its own, and it's definitely something that your rival has to play around in order to stay safe. To follow this up, I'm breaking out something a little more experimental, and that is 2 copies of Ambush Thrust. This card is definitely one that I am curious to see how this plays out. I'm not 100% confident that I will like this card, but the reason I have it in here is its top enhance. Add a card from your momentum to your hand. There are going to be times where we're able to get one of our key pieces through on our rival, especially because we're able to discard cards from their hand with other effects that exist within the attack lineup, as well as our own ability on our character card. So this card could be extremely strong, but I'm not 100% confident in it. I do want to see how this goes. It does also have an enhance to destroy a foundation, and if they have 4 or more committed foundations, this gets +3 damage, so we can make this really big between ourselves and our ability to reduce a little bit of damage and then give our fury attack even more damage. This is a fury. It plays nicely with what we've got going on, so I'm excited to see what this one can do. To follow that up, we have 4 copies of probably the most important card in the deck, Rabble Rousing. Rabble Rousing is a game changer for our friend Bakugo. This card's response is that after you play this card, attacks get -1 damage this turn. This applies to both players. It applies whether you block with it or if you play it as an attack, so this is really strong. It also has an ability statically after it leaves your card pool during the combat phase. It makes your rival lose 2 health It cannot reduce them below 1, but it's still a big, nasty thing to do to your rival. And it also does have a deadlock enhance to destroy 2 of your rival's foundations. It's a 3 high for 5. It's statted okay, but the important part is that giving all of your attacks -1 damage means that with Bakugo himself, you're now mathematically giving them +2 damage over the course of every attack that you play. So it is really important. That's why there's 4 copies of this in this 50 card deck. I want to make sure I see this as my opener as often as I possibly can in order to make that happen. Moving on to the 5 difficulty attacks, I am playing 2 copies of Howitzer Impact Cyclone, which I've dropped on the floor. There we go. 2 copies of Howitzer Impact Cyclone. This card's really, really strong. We all know how threatening this card can be, and we definitely don't want to be on the receiving end of it. Making it even more damage with our character is really, really strong. And then on top of that, we're getting to draw cards, steal momentum, and use powerful on it. Very, very powerful card. Very strong to be able to use, and we're able to play something like Rabble Rousing, kick it out with Bakugo after getting the combo enhance on Howitzer Impact Cyclone, and just keep our strings going and make sure that everything is really, really nasty. This is basically a 6 difficulty attack because we want to combo it every time that we can, but it's still extremely scary. Everybody knows how bad it is to be on the receiving end of this, and they don't want to be in that position. And to wrap things up, we have 3 copies of Explosive Rebuke. This is Bakugo's new UR from the new set Jetburn, and this card is extremely strong. It's basically a repeat ability of our ability on our character card, being able to force another card out of our rival's hand while kicking another Fury attack out of our card pool is so crazy. And then the other relevant part is its 1A enhance. You can flip a foundation in order to give your attack +1 to all of its keyword ratings. This has powerful 2 and stun 1 on its own. So being able to make that powerful 3 and stun 2 can be a game-winning play on its own, and at the cost of a flip of a foundation, easy peasy, I'll pay that every day. This card is nuts, and it's probably going to win us a lot of games over the course of this of the next event that I play this at. I'm very excited to see where this goes. But that wraps up the attack lineup, so let's go ahead and get into our foundations. To open up, we are starting with 2 copies of Desperate Struggle. Despite the fact that we are running 2 checks in our deck, I think this card is too good to ignore. Being able to reset the speed or damage of any of our rivals' moves is extremely potent because we just need to survive. We may be a 30 health 6-hander, but that doesn't mean a whole lot in the face of some of the onslaughts that some of these characters are capable of, and I want to make sure that I can live long enough to do the damage I need to them. Following that up, we have 3 copies of Keeping Beat. This is a card that's going to allow us to extend our plays a little bit. Being able to give +2 to our check after we forced our rival to commit a card or to discard a card is really, really nice. We do have 2 moves that we basically want to be playing on a 6, those being Explosive Rebuke and Howitzer Impact Cyclone. So making sure that we're able to do that relatively easily without having to commit all of our resources is really, really nice. I like this card a lot for that reason, and that's why I've got it at a 3. To follow up, we've got 2 more copies of a card from Jetburn, that being Bring It On. Bring It On is really nice for this character, having a response to commit itself and force your rival to discard a card after they draw a card during the combat phase. Really nice way to prevent the recovery that is passing the torch from our character. Taking the last card out of our rival's hand can sometimes be a bit of a risk with that card, but sometimes we need to do it. We have to zone check them. We have to make sure that they just are on their back foot the entire time. So this is a way to make that happen. It also has a 1A enhance to flip itself and give +1 damage for each card that's left your card pool this turn. We have plenty of ways to make that happen. If we see multiple copies of Explosive Rebuke, we're gonna have a lot of stuff leave our card pool, and this can represent a lot of damage at any given time. So I think this card is very nice for that reason. Next, we've got 3 copies of Learning to Harden. Mostly I have this in here because it has a commit cost for additional damage, and we're able to destroy it with some of the cards that are in our attack lineup. Being able to do that and get the death response to draw another card, really nice way to extend our plays, make sure that we're getting the damage through into our rival that we want to. Following that up, we have a defensive piece in Graceful Maneuvers. And I'm gonna go ahead and talk about the next card on the list as well. That is 3 copies of Defying Faith. Both of these have a similar function, which is basically just speed control. We want to make sure that we're blocking things effectively and making sure that nothing gets through that threatens us particularly. So that's what these are here to do. They make sure that we stay alive through the entire game and are able to put our damage into our rival instead of the other way around. Following that up, we have 2 copies of Glamour, another card that's a really good target to destroy after committing it. You're able to commit it to have to draw a card after this non-throw attack deals damage, which you're gonna get some damage through, let's face it. So being able to draw more cards and build out further in order to facilitate that game plan is really, really nice. It also has a Tenacious Enhance to discard a momentum and add this card to your hand, which can be a really clutch way to save your bacon over the course of a game. So it's a nice option. I'm not 100% sold on this card, but I do want to give it a try. You'll notice that this is a lot more of an inconsistent foundation base because I want to try a lot of things before I really settle on anything. Following up, we have 3 copies of Irritated, another new foundation from Jetburn. This has an enhance to commit and give your Fury attack +2 speed and -1 damage, which, because we are Bakugou IV, that basically means +2 speed and +2 damage. Really, really strong card on a 1 diff with a 3+ high block. The block modifier matters a whole lot less. It's just a matter of what this card does once it's in our stage. It's very, very strong for us. Next, we have 2 copies of Snack Time. This card needs no introduction. It is extremely strong and is able to weaponize the other cards that we have in our hand in order to stun our rival out and increase our speed. Its deadlock is game winning, and we're able to really facilitate that with all of the extra draw that we've put in this deck. Next, back on the defensive, we have 3 copies of Struggling with Studies. This is definitely a card that keeps our foundations face up as we need them, and it also is able to pick back up our cards from our card pool if we need to continue blocking something that is zone checking us or just repeatedly attacking in a way that we are not comfortable with. This is a way to keep ourselves alive. Really like this card. Next, we have 4 copies of Reluctant Role Model. This is a new 0-diff foundation and it synergizes with our character incredibly well. It has a Tenacious ability to flip to give this attack -1 damage, which is very, very good for our character. This basically translates to +2 damage on a move. So it is a good way to trigger that and make sure that we're getting everything that we need out of our character card. And to round things off, we have 4 copies of Surviving the Final. This card is another one of those that will keep us alive. It is here because it is a 0 and it has a repeatable -1 speed. It's very, very good. I like having this card available to me in pretty much any deck that I run because I need to stay alive, and that's just the God's honest truth. But that brings us to the end of the main deck. So let's go ahead and get this laid out in a way that we can see all the block zones so you can see how this plays defensively as well. And there you have it, players. Here is my Bakugo deck laid out by block zone. I have 17 highs, 17 mids, 16 lows, very evenly spread, a good way to keep yourself alive at your base level. On your version 1 of your deck, you want to keep yourself relatively flexible and be able to see where your weaknesses are, where your strengths are, and where you can make those cuts and kind of give those concessions in order to make the deck the best that it can be in later iterations. And that's what we've got right here. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Leave a comment and tell me what you like, what you didn't like, what changes you might make. Subscribe for more, and until next time, just watch me.